Maybe I'm crazy, maybe I'm not.
All right, I'm very excited to have Anita Marks on. She is the host and analyst for ESPN's Daily Wager Gambling Show, Monday through Friday and Sunday morning on ESPN2. And she's also a radio host on ESPN Radio in New York City. And I know her from my time at CBS when she would often be a guest with myself, Jamie Eisenberg, and Dave Richard on Fantasy Football Today. And I remember, Anita, you saved one of my fantasy football seasons because I wasn't hip to Odell Beckham Jr. And you came on and you dropped a nice little nugget. And I went ahead and picked him up. He was available in my league inexplicably. I know that sounds insane to talk about today, but yeah, you gave me a bunch of wins that year with Odell. So I always appreciate that.
Could you, I mean, can we marinate in that for a minute? But the majority of people that had Odell Beckham Jr. on their fantasy football roster picked him up off the waiver wire that year. Because if you recall, when the Giants drafted him, he came on board and he had some hamstring issues. And so he didn't play for the first 3 weeks. But I worked with the Giants. I was part of their broadcast team for about 6 years. So I was there at practice and got to see up close and personal just how phenomenal he was. And I knew that the minute that he was going to be active, that he was going to blow up. And so I'm glad that you reaped the benefit, Joy.
You and I are very different in that regard, because if I was the one who had the scoop on Odell Beckham Jr., I wouldn't meet a human person and not tell them that I did that. So I give you full credit for that in general. But now he is with the Cleveland Browns. He's no longer with the disaster that is the New York Giants. He's with the Cleveland Browns, who are also quite a disaster themselves. There's many reasons why they're going through what they're going through, but what is your opinion about why the Browns are having the season that they're having?
It's really hard when an organization has been as bad as the Browns have been for so long to change a culture that is permeated within an organization. It's really, 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 really hard. So just like the foundation in regard to like just how bad the Browns have been, and to like turn that energy, you've got to change like everybody in the building. Like I don't think people realize, like, you know, when guys go to work, when players go to work and they walk into their facility, it's like they're there all day, from like the cafeteria staff to the marketing department to and so it's really, really hard. You have all these people who worked for the Browns organization for so long that have just gotten so used to losing and have this like kind of negativity around the organization. So that's first and foremost. Okay. Number two, I think when you look at the makeup of the roster, it's a lot of millennials. It's a lot of me. It's a lot of big personalities. And there's not a lot of veteran leadership in there that are really going to take, let's say, Baker Mayfield aside and say, hey, listen, you actually want the media to like you, because your life will be a lot easier, especially in the long run, when the media like you. Or, you know, or Odell Beckham Jr. and Jarvis Landry. Hey, guys, there are rules in place that we must follow to make our lives a lot easier. And that is, the cleats we wear need to either be black, white, or our team colors. So let's not color outside the line. Let's make life easy for all of us. It's like little things like that that just keep on happening with the organization that are derailing the chemistry within the locker room. So that's two. Number three, I think Freddie Kitchens has been way over his head, you know, in regard to lack of experience of being a head coach, not having the respect, I think, from a number of guys in that locker room. Like, for example, do you think any of this extra stuff that's happening off the football field would even one little iota happen with Bill Belichick in that Patriots locker room?
That's a no.
Heck no, Joy. It wouldn't. So there's just not one thing. There's a magnitude of things that are happening with that franchise and that organization, and the reason they've only won 2 games. And you've heard this before. Winning is the ultimate deodorant. And we all thought that they were going to beat the Denver Broncos last week, right? Against a quarterback who had never completed a pass in a regular season NFL game. And they lost to Denver. So now, I mean, you know, the sky is falling, I would imagine. And now you've got the Buffalo Bills coming to town, whose defense is very similar to Denver's, who actually has a better quarterback than Josh Allen, I'm telling you what, if that line goes up to 3.5, I'm taking the Bills +3, +3.5 right now, because I think things got even a lot worse in Cleveland this week.
Another team that is going through some pitiful woes, and I think just listening to you talk about the Browns, which, by the way, I agree with literally everything you just said. Another team that's going through what I think you just described is the New York Jets. Now, they have similarities in that they both have talent. They both have their quarterback. They both have a strong running back, and they have some pieces around the team that would make you think that this team is going to be a lot better than they are. Now, in all fairness to the Jets, Darnold did have mono, so that kind of X'd out this season for me with them. But, you know, they still have some expectations this season. So what's happening with the Jets?
Again, how much time do you have on this podcast?
Right.
Yeah, I mean, well, a few things. Number one, definitely Sam Darnold coming down with mono. It started this domino effect, right? Like, no Sam Darnold, and then from there, Simeon got knocked out of the game, and his season was over. And so now this is a Jets organization that's coming in, and they're having to play with their third-string quarterback, Luke Falk, okay, who it was just horrible. So now what happened? They're losing on the offensive side of the ball. I think they were hoping to get Chris Herndon, their tight end, back sooner than they could. On the defensive side of the ball, C.J. Mosley, who is so keep in mind, C.J. Mosley is their linebacker, who is their quarterback of the defense, who's out because of a very significant groin injury, and Sam Darnold, who is their quarterback, obviously, who's their field general on the offensive. So both their leaders on the offensive and defensive side of the ball are out and are not playing for the first few weeks of the season. So in regard to, you know, roster and talent and star players, they were lacking. That's number one. Number two, and what has really kind of been revealed here is there's a lot of question marks whether or not is Adam Gase a good head coach. You know, the question mark right now is Adam Gase's offense. A, it doesn't fit Le'Veon Bell. I don't know how you pay a running back as much money as the Jets are paying him and only give him 15, 18 touches a game. That just blows my mind.
Right.
But what's really being revealed here, and what's really interesting when you look around the landscape of the NFL, Joy, you know, there are coaches out there that have a system. Like, for example, when Ben McAdoo was with the Giants, all Ben McAdoo knows is the 3 wide receiver set system, 11 personnel. That's all he knows. That's his system. I'm going to plug this one in here. I'm going to plug that one in there. I'm going to plug that one in there. And this is how we're going to play. So apparently, from what I'm gathering, all Adam Gase knows is Peyton Manning's system. And maybe Peyton Manning's system doesn't fit Sam Darnold. And in this day and age in the NFL, you need to know more than just one system. In order to have success and be this offensive genius, and Adam Gase is calling the plays here, you have to know more than just one system, especially when you don't have the horses in your stable to run the one system you know. You've got to adapt, and you've got to change. And he's not capable of doing that. And that is what has revealed itself. And so there's a lot of question marks whether or not Adam Gase is the guy for this Jets franchise and this Jets organization. And if the organization decides to get rid of him, now you've got Sam Darnold, this poor Sam, his third coach in 3 years. Now you're setting him back another year, having to learn a new system, having to get familiar with a new coach. So it's a mess here in New York. It's very interesting because going into the season, boy, everyone was like, boy, how great is it to be a Jets fan right now?
Right.
You know, the Jets have always been the ugly stepchild to the Giants for so many years. Oh, they finally got their quarterback in Sam Darnold. Oh, they go out to get Le'Veon Bell. Oh, man, this is going to be a great year. Jets are going to win like 9 games. Maybe they'll try to get into postseason as a wild card. Oh, boy, are we far from it. So, when you're looking at this organization, they're both not good. It's a sad state of affairs here in New York, Joy.
Yeah, it's a downer all around. Let's switch to something not so negative. The Ravens are a super. You're just bringing the hammer today. I like it. The Ravens have been tremendous this year. I was pretty off on the 49ers and the Ravens this year. I didn't know what to expect from Lamar Jackson, and what I was hearing from the Ravens kind of made me nervous. in the offseason because they were talking about kind of just letting Lamar Jackson run as much as possible. And I really felt like in order for Lamar to take his game to the next level in the NFL, he was going to have to develop a pocket presence and be able to throw the ball much better than he did in his rookie year. And to the Ravens' credit, not only have they developed him in an incredible way, you can tell that he worked on his body in the offseason as well. How far can the Ravens go? Do you feel like they're limited, or should we just consider them as a straight up Super Bowl contender?
Well, I'm going to answer your question. I think the Ravens win the AFC North, and I think they're a true contender based on, if you're looking at the AFC and you already have said, all right, the Patriots are going to go to the Super Bowl and represent the AFC in the Super Bowl. You were watching the game that took place this past week, and how what the Ravens are able to do counteracts everything that the Patriots have had a lot of success doing against bad teams. So I think the Ravens can go very far based on their makeup, offense, defense, and special teams, to answer your question. But I'm going to go even further with you when you talk about Lamar Jackson and the Ravens, because they need a lot of credit here. As you know, the Ravens, they traded back into the bottom of the first round to get Lamar Jackson at 32. Okay, they traded with the Eagles. I said this prior to the draft. I felt Lamar Jackson was the best quarterback coming out. But he needed to go to a team that was going to build an offense around him. And you have to credit Steve Bisciotti, who, by the way, is my favorite owner in the NFL. At the time, Ozzie Newsome, now Eric DeCosta, is the general manager. Okay? This is what they've done, Joy. This is amazing. Okay? And not enough people are talking about this. They have aligned themselves with the University of Oklahoma. Look at their roster. Take a look at their roster, Joy. What they've done is they are drafting players from the University of Oklahoma. They've got two starting offensive linemen on their offensive line, and I believe they have other offensive linemen that aren't starting but are on their roster. Mark Andrews, stud tight end, Oklahoma. Justice Hill, who we haven't even tapped into yet this season. This dude is a video machine, and he hasn't even gotten a lot of playing time. Marquise Brown, yep, you guessed it, Oklahoma. So what are they doing? They are using the University of Oklahoma as a farming system. And on top of that, they are taking coaches from University of Oklahoma and they're bringing them in during OTAs and training camp and working with their staff to implement plays. And it's amazing. They are, in my opinion, one step ahead of the game because they look at Oklahoma, they see how Oklahoma plays, they're integrating some NFL tendencies as well, and feeling this is the system that Lamar Jackson can thrive in and do great things in. And oh, by the way, they recruit well. So we're going to draft from the University of Oklahoma so that those young men who come in to start playing for the Ravens, the transition is seamless because they already know the playbook and they already understand the lingo. It's fascinating what the Ravens are doing. It's beyond just drafting Lamar Jackson and saying, okay, we're going to build an offense around you. They're actually using the University of Oklahoma as a farm system. It's fascinating. I'm surprised no one has done more research on this.
Yeah, no, that's a straight up Illuminati hack right there that you just revealed.
It's unbelievable, and I credit the Ravens. So here's the thing, Joy. Lamar Jackson would not have this success. We're sitting here talking. Do you know right now, odds for him to win the MVP now the same as Russell Wilson? Russell Wilson's having an amazing season, and as much as I love Lamar Jackson, and I'm so thrilled for his success, he's blessed that he went to the Ravens, and the Ravens are doing this the right way. It's really a phenomenal story.
So in the NFC, I know everyone is freaking out about the 49ers, and obviously they're having an incredible season. They're the only undefeated team left in the NFL. However, I continue to argue that the Saints are the best team in the NFL. And the reason I say that is because, I mean, they lost Drew Brees for 5 weeks and went undefeated. Now, Teddy Bridgewater is obviously a starting quarterback in the NFL. Everyone just forgot that. But they also were a smart enough team to plan ahead for having a capable backup quarterback in case anything happened to Drew Brees. So maybe I'm off on that, but I still think if it comes down to the Saints and the 49ers, I'm going with the Saints.
Yeah, listen, and rightfully you should. You know what's really interesting this season is this season more than ever, how much should we respect and value the backup quarterback position.
Right.
I mean, it's really unbelievable.
It's been the year of the backup.
God, I mean, yeah, exactly. God forbid anything happens to Drew Brees. Boy, Saints got to feel great that they got Teddy Bridgewater sitting there in the wing. And Taysom Hill, by the way, who I love. Even the New England Patriots. And listen, I love Jared Stidham. That's the quarterback that they went out and they drafted in the 4th round this year. And I do believe he will be the next heir apparent whenever Tom Brady wants to ride off in the sunset with his avocado ice cream. But Stidham's not ready. Patriots wouldn't win a Super Bowl if Tom Brady got injured. There are at least 80% to 85% of the teams in the NFL wouldn't even win another game if their backup quarterback came in. So hands down, Teddy Bridgewater coming in and the Saints not losing, unbelievable. And it also says a lot about Sean Payton. I think one of the best coaches in the NFL. They're a very balanced team. Even you saw Alvin Kamara has been out for a while.
Yeah.
Latavius Murray comes in. They don't miss a beat, right? Drew Brees leaves or gets injured, right? Teddy Bridgewater comes in. They don't miss a beat. They arguably have one of the best wide receivers in the NFL in Thomas. Jared Cook has been okay, but they're very balanced and they have a really, really good defense. They're just the most balanced team in the NFL. And so in looking at the NFC, so here's who I have coming out of the NFC. In the NFC East, I have the Eagles. I know the Cowboys won. I think they're 14 days off. They weren't ready. They're such a better team than the Giants. I think the 14 days off, they just had a slow start last night. But I still think the Eagles win the NFC East. I do believe the Packers win the NFC North. I think the Saints win the NFC South. I have San Francisco winning the NFC West. And I've got Seattle and then either Carolina or the Vikings getting as a wild card. And out of all those teams, yeah, I mean, listen, the San Francisco 49ers are amazing. Their defense is sick. Kyle Shanahan definitely should be in the conversation for Coach of the Year this year. Yeah. But I wouldn't be surprised if it comes down to the 49ers and the Saints for the NFC Championship and the Saints winning it, going back and, hey, who's not going to root for them? Poor team. They were really kind of screwed over, right, the last 2 years. So in my opinion, third time's a charm for them. Who wouldn't be rooting for them after what's happened to them the past 2 years? Yeah,
and I don't want to make it sound like I think 49ers fans think I'm a hater. I'm really not. It's just, sometimes I just got to be that annoying person that goes with my gut. And also, what I said about Teddy Bridgewater, which everything you just said is true. But also, what I think it comes down to in those moments, and it's kind of what we saw in the Super Bowl last year with Sean McVay and Bill Belichick, Sean Payton and Drew Brees have been there before, and Shanahan and Garoppolo haven't. And playoff football, as we know, really all playoffs and all sports come down to situations and moments and who doesn't mess up and who makes the big play. So if it came down to that moment, I would go with the Saints as well. It's just the experience that I would lean on in that situation. So real quickly, before I let you go, you mentioned the Cowboys quickly. I have my Super Bowl prediction before the season started was Chiefs and Cowboys. Chiefs winning, partly because Fox has the Super Bowl and I really want the biggest ratings ever. And that would be a crazy Super Bowl. I would take some alternatives, but what do you think of the Cowboys last night? Because people I feel constantly find a reason to not believe in the Cowboys. That was a road win against a division rival. Why are people always questioning the Cowboys?
That's a great question. I feel Dak gets a raw deal all the time. Maybe it's Jerry Jones. Maybe it's because people are just tired of them being associated with America's team. I like the Dallas Cowboys. I think it's going to come down to the wire between them and the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm not saying that the Eagles are going to run away with this thing. So my pick for the Super Bowl was Eagles, Chargers.
Ooh.
I'm telling you what. Chargers are getting healthy. Chargers, keep an eye on the Chargers. If the Chargers make it to the postseason as a wild card, Joy, watch out for them. Watch out.
I'll take your word for it because I trust you on a lot of stuff, but it is the Chargers at the end of the day. But thank you so much for coming on with us. I really appreciate it. Again, you can check out Anita. It's just Anita Marks on Twitter, right?
Right, Anita Marks on Twitter, and I just want to let you know, I know I hit you up a lot on when you're doing the show with Colin, but so I typically prep from home. I work from home a lot, and I've got all the sports shows on, so I watch you guys pretty much every day, if not like maybe 3 or 4 times a week, and I think you do a phenomenal job.
Oh, thank you.
I'm really proud of you, and it's great that you're in our industry, and it's great that you represent women in our industry, because I think you do a great job, Joy.
Thank you, Anita. You too. You've been a big inspiration to me as well, because you are always on your stuff and you're excellent at what you do. And yes, Anita does give me scoops. So she'll be in my DMs like, no, this is what's really happening. And she's very rarely wrong. But thank you so much, Anita. Again, you can check her out on ESPN's Daily Wager Gambling Show Monday through Friday and Sunday morning on ESPN2, and also on ESPN Radio in New York. Thanks, Anita.
You got it.